So the service does pretty much most of the work for you. You just have to upload your episode, put in a description, put in the title, and boom, you're podcasting. The real challenge, I think, is getting people to download it, to subscribe to it, and that for us is it looks like it's going to be kind of a slow burn. It's not like we launched and 1,000 people signed up all at once. We're getting a couple hundred downloads, and that's the main metric is downloads. They're trying to come up with better metrics for podcasts in terms of how you track listeners. Right now, it's however many times someone downloads the file through iTunes or whatever the service it is. So we're doing a couple hundred. We're hoping to get it up further than that, so we could provide value to our sponsor. But pretty optimistic about it, and it's something you could definitely be doing on a local level. It's just a matter of making sure you're putting out. Obviously the content you're going to put out is unique because it's local. The question is the content you're going to put out compelling enough to get people to listen to it every week? We're trying. It's hard. Being a broadcaster is a learned talent. So I'm trying to continue to develop that and see where it goes. Field, why don't you talk about what you're doing video-wise?
Yep. As I said, we've been doing a lot of sponsored content, like little 3 to 5 minute videos. Yep. Field Walsh with TXK Today out of Texarkana, Texas. And we've been doing little 3 to 5 minute sponsored content videos. The best seller on it, is the drone. People just go crazy about drone video. And we usually post it to Facebook, and a lot of times we will pair it with like a giveaway. Like we just did one with a restaurant, and we gave away like 5 $50 gift cards with the restaurant, and said, share this video, or not share because Facebook doesn't like that, but you can say like and comment on the video, and we will give you a gift card. We'll pick 5 people to win the gift card, and it got like 5,000 shares and thousands of likes, about 100,000 views. Crazy. So they just sell themselves that way, and they're not a lot. They're not a lot of work. We go out and interview the people on camera and shoot all the B-roll, and it takes 2 or 3 hours. And then I've got quite a bit of experience editing video, so I've gotten pretty quick, but it takes another couple of hours to edit. And
isn't the benchmark on video that it takes about an hour per minute? Per finished minute to edit video.
Yeah, that would be about right. It can be time consuming, but people will pay for it. And
what are the things that you interview people about? What are the videos about?
Just about their business and what they do, and
how do you decipher a sponsored video from just like a regular news interview? Like how do you let the reader know that it's sponsored?
Yeah, we probably should do a better job on that. We're just posting it to our Facebook usually. We're not. If we post it on our website, we will say. But yeah, I don't. We probably should say more. Be better about getting in trouble with the FTC.
I've been doing that, and I use Penny Board Street's YouTube. So my videos on local businesses right in my ad.
In the ad spot. Yeah, we've done that a little bit.
You have a host for some of your videos, right?
Yeah.
Camera talent.
Yeah. In the front row, she's
But that's kind of unique. I feel like a lot of people producing videos, sort of on this level, don't have the on camera.
Yeah. I thought that was important, and we do a lot of news videos too with our. But the money makers are the little featured content.
So I'm Charlotte Ann Lucas with Nowcast SA, which is, we say it's like public television on the internet in San Antonio. We do a ton of live streaming video, which is part of why we're up here using my husband's equipment, not the nonprofit's equipment, streaming the conference. But Nowcast has streamed from more than 200 different places in San Antonio, including most of them have internet, except for when we streamed the Pride Parade, we used clear 4G WiMAX to stream from a city park. But those videos ultimately get archived up on YouTube, and so we have about 1,200 videos on our YouTube channel right now, most of which are from civic or cultural events, and so they're bumper-to-bumper kind of events, and then we do short videos as well. We just started in the studio that we have. We have offices on the 6th floor of San Antonio Central Library because the director of the library believes we're in the same business of empowering people with information. So we turned one of them into a studio and just recently started doing very short conversations, 17-minute long conversations that basically are with newsmakers. We've had conversations about the Texas Hunger Project, SLAPP lawsuits, the lawsuits designed to discourage people from participating in the public process. And those things we've sold sponsorships for those to local businesses. And that's very clear. I'm sorry, it's sponsorship and a nonprofit as opposed to advertising in a for-profit. But it's fairly similar, and those go up as like a slide. The longer videos, on Friday we live streamed the Congress on Children in San Antonio, and those tend to be underwritten by people who are interested in that type of content. So Friday's videos were all underwritten by the Methodist Healthcare Ministries, which is a big foundation in San Antonio that's very interested in getting out information about health and stuff. 2 weeks ago, we live streamed a 2-day conference, international conference on aging in the Americas, and that conference was underwritten and sponsored by AARP, the UTSA College of Public Policy, the San Antonio Area Foundation, and the San Antonio Department of Human Services. And all told for that, the sponsorships added up to about $11,000. And our day rate for a normal underwriting would be about $3,200. So on that one, we ended up, it was 2 days and stuff, but that's how those are the types of things that we sold to cover it and to make sure that we were alive to roll another day.
So should we go into audience questions?
Sure. I mean, questions on everything from equipment to monetizing to...
Come on.
I have all kinds.
So-
I've been doing podcasts and videos for 4 years, and I have not sold them. I have not done anything to try to add monetary value to it because it's all part of my music website. So of course it's either bands performing, it's interviews. I do 2 radio shows a week, so of course all those podcasts are on the site. So the question I have is, how do I monetize the podcasts and the videos themselves so that when I can maybe talk to an advertiser or someone else to say, look, people are coming to read this or they're coming to see that, listen to this, how do I monetize that beyond just having it on my website and on YouTube?
So I'll talk about podcasts and if this is a live stream. Is this a live stream or is this tape right now? On tape. All right. So didn't catch the first part. If you're watching this, I'm Scott Brodbeck, ARLnet.com, and 2 other sites in the DC area. Anyhow, so the question's about monetizing podcasts, and if you've been doing this for a while and you have an audience that you can prove, you're in a better place than you are if you're just launching and have nothing. Most likely, I approached a couple clients about doing the podcast. And again, the format of how we monetize it and how most people are monetizing podcasts right now is a live read ad, like a live read sponsorship. Like, beginning of the video, this podcast is brought to you by, Acme Incorporated, maker of fine widgets everywhere. Get them at Bob's Hardware on Main Street, that sort of thing. So we ended up going to basically our best client, who does a big package with us that renews every year, and we said, we're going to do this podcast thing with us. We don't have an audience yet, but we think it's going to be pretty cool. And they included it as part of a larger package. So if you have like a really big client, if you're having trouble monetizing it with new clients, if you have a really big one who trusts you and who it wants to do different things, that's probably an avenue to go with. Other than that, it's just showing the audience and that you have.
Okay, the stuff that you guys are doing is mostly native stuff for the
Right.
as opposed to a news thing that someone is advertising on. We're sponsored. We're like to me, I could see it. For me, I could see doing the podcast and having it on the website, and then having an ad or a bullet saying
Part of what you're dealing with is that the stuff that you already have has currency, but it's not necessarily stuff that you can sell. It's the stats about the stuff that you already have that is the currency of what you already have. And yes, you could put something on your website around those things, but going back into content after it's already up to add something in means you have to then kind of republish it, right? Which may be worthwhile if you get, the Guitar Store decides that they want to sponsor this series of things, and then it may be worth going back into it and adding in that ad, that pre-roll, and republishing it, or publishing it as a new series or repackaging it. I mean, that has occurred to me because we had so much stuff up, and then it's like, hey, this stuff has actually still got some life, right? I mean, it's not over. You have, right. So they're still there. So maybe it's really worth trying to find somebody to give you a leg up to republish it,
And when you do ads on your videos, is that just at the beginning?
So, and that's evolving thanks to YouTube. It's really, really kind of fun. We can edit in the post-production process a slide if we shoot a short video. When we do major things like I was talking about, the big conferences and stuff, we roll those slides in live so that they become part of the finished project. But you can also go back into video after the fact at YouTube and add a slide or some sort of sponsorship to it. It changes the URL, so you kind of lose the stats that you had before, but it may be worthwhile to do that. The other thing that they allow, and I think it's for everybody, but we had the opportunity as a nonprofit to actually put links in the video that go back to our website. And so we're thinking about, for what we did was put a link into the video that says donate to Nailcast, right? And it goes to the donate spot. But we could sell that to a sponsor or underwriter to say, this link is going to go in there and it's going to send people to a spot, because it has to go to our website, but it could go to a splash page for them on our website, So all of those kinds of things that's within the past 14 months that have been added.
And then you can also get like a third party. We use a third party video server that'll overlay banner ads on the the bottom of the video, and we can control all that, or do pre-roll videos. And it's give me a second. I don't know. Give me a second. I'll get back to you. It's not cheap. It's $300-400 a month, but
What will you get from it? What is
the main thing? Well, we're not doing a very good job pushing it. But the main thing is, you don't have to build your pre-roll advertisement into the video, so it can be updated when that advertiser falls off or when you get a new advertiser or whatever. It's JW Video.
So the only thing I wanted to add was that, I mentioned the live read type podcast ad, but you can honestly play with the format and to make it more compelling. If you're familiar with the podcast Startup, they don't just do live reads. They will have their sponsor, like the CEO, do a short interview that becomes part of their ad on the podcast, and it's actually pretty cool. So if you were, for instance, if one of your sponsors was a music venue, maybe the owner, there's a 30-second snippet from an interview with the owner that makes kind of humanizes the venue and makes it more interesting of an ad.
And also like in YouTube, you have like well as on the website? Can you run whatever video it is on your website as some content, and then it carry the ads through to the YouTube channel itself?
So the question was, do we carry the video on the website as content, or run it through somebody else that also, right?
If you have your own YouTube channel,
Right.
so you make a YouTube of
Mhm.
whatever it is
Mhm.
that you're doing, that you're covering or whatever,
Right.
and then embed an ad to it. So do you sell it as a part of your YouTube, so that's extra content, extra views as opposed to, because if I run a story on YouTube, when I do the video, it's in the story as part of the content.
Right. Right.
It's then sitting on my YouTube channel.
As well, right? So it's both places, right? And so we haven't charged separately for it because, as perhaps we might consider the notion of doing, but it exists on the YouTube channel, and that's really where an awful lot of the traction comes from. I mean, we have one on the Affordable Care Act that's been viewed 36,000 times, but all of that's coming from people searching YouTube like you would search Google for the Affordable Care Act. It's not coming. You can see from the analytics, they're coming straight there from a Google search or a YouTube search. We also put it on the website and try to do SEO out the wazoo on the website so that people come to that content also from a Google search as opposed to a YouTube search. But we don't charge separately for it right now. The sponsorship goes into it either during a live production or during post-production of a shorter video, and then it just stays there. And it stays there. That's one of the things that adds value to it, obviously, is it stays there for the life of the video. And given the fact that if YouTube ceases to exist, the world as we know it will come to an end, that's a long time.
Scott, you had mentioned about the podcast. You had mentioned about the podcast being anywhere from 20 minutes to $1.20. Doesn't $1.20 seem a little lengthy, given that people have to set aside time to actually listen to a podcast, unlike driving down the street in their car listening to the radio? Can you just talk about the length of it?
Yeah, so that one went pretty long. Originally, I had called the podcast 26 minutes, thinking it was going to be 26 minutes long, like Arlington's 26 square miles. And I ended up going way over a bunch of times, so that didn't work. $1.50 is $1.20 is really long, and it's going to be like some diehard fans. But it was a really interesting discussion. I think 20 to 40 minutes is probably more of a sweet spot. But honestly, I tracking my own behavior, and you can't use your own behavior as a total substitute for user behavior. So take it with a grain of salt. But tracking my own behavior, if I'm interested in a topic, I'll listen to an hour 20 minutes podcast. One of the great things about the feature is that you don't have to confine yourself to just 30 minutes like a TV show. You can, if it's a great interview, you can go as long as you want. It's just what do your listeners want to hear? So I think you need to kind of follow that and get feedback along the way.
The conversations that we're doing on video are 17 minutes long. And I guess part of, I've been a journalist for a long, long time, but I also look at two different things. One is, that is how long TEDx is, and it's for a reason that it's 17 minutes long, because they figure that that's about our attention span seriously. The other is that, and I think we're very unusual in this way, but our YouTube channel keeps people for almost that length of time. So that's how long they're hanging in there on substantive things like the Affordable Care Act and stuff. So I'm going to say, let's roll with it. And in every one of those conversations that I've done, I've kind of gone into it with a mental thing, like when I'm teaching a college class, I know what an hour and 15 minutes is in my head, right? So I go into it with the cut it off, and every single one of those has been anywhere from 13 to 18 minutes, just because that's like a sweet spot for letting people have the opportunity to speak in complete sentences, but getting it over with before we all get bored with it. But there's something that came up yesterday too, and I think this is a real important thing. The platform and the delivery have everything to do with how long you make something last. We do long, short form documentaries that are 12 or 15 minutes long. That works on YouTube. That works on that kind of a translation. But if I were to put some video from that up on Facebook, it would have to be about 30 seconds. And so you really have to tailor it for the platform that you're looking at on how long you're sending stuff out. And I think podcasts, when you're subscribing to podcasts, I mean, I don't do a lot of subscribing to podcasts, but I think that people kind of know what they're looking for, whether it's a program, they're used to radio programs of an hour and stuff. I mean, so that's kind of a different mindset. Right. I mean, just look at what people are used to, and I mean, how long are yours going?
Yeah, one's an hour and one's 20 minutes, about 20 minutes. And I've actually honestly haven't looked to see which ones that are the most popular, but you can subscribe to them on iTunes and everything else. So in a lot of ways, there's plenty of, people will listen to them in the car. They want to hear the local regional music thing.
Nobody's talked about putting audio up on YouTube. And if you do put audio up on YouTube, and we actually have some audio up on YouTube, and you can get some really, really good analytics for it. We have audio of a woman who is a British woman who is the children's laureate of Great Britain. She wrote a book called The Gruffalo, you might know. Anyway, we have audio of her reading The Gruffalo, and it's like among our most popular stuff. And we get fabulous analytics about where people are listening to it and stuff like that because it's on YouTube. So, and I've been through a lot of audio platforms over the years that died and took my content with them. And so I tend to think of YouTube, as I said, as a much safer place to keep my material.
There are, of course, video podcasts. That is a thing. You can have a video. Just add a camera, just add a GoPro, and you can make your audio podcast into a video podcast that you can upload to YouTube, in addition to putting it on iTunes, Stitcher, and the various podcasting services. So the question is, is a podcast substantially different than, listening to an audio file via SoundCloud? And the answer is not really. Audio is audio, right? But yeah, what you do have in podcasts that's particularly attractive for a broadcaster / publisher is that you have a subscription. People can subscribe to you, and so every time a new episode comes out, that hits their feed, as opposed to going out and having to find it or kind of listen to it one at a time, a la carte. But that's still an option. One thing we're doing, which I think is you have to do if you're a publisher and you're launching a podcast, is every time there's a new podcast, in addition to it going out on YouTube, on iTunes, we're publishing the audio. A widget with the audio on our site with a synopsis of the interview, and trying to drive traffic and subscriptions to it that way.
All my podcasts are on SoundCloud, it's both, and I get a significant number of views on SoundCloud because people, musicians in particular, are really good at this on SoundCloud. So for me, it works really well.
So then the question of making sure that the platform you're using as many platforms as you can to try to find people, or let the content find them.
You said that you sometimes do live music events, so you do that as a video. You go out and do it like a television coverage and run that on your site. How successful is that? Do you find better views that spread slowly about the
No. I don't know if it's worth it. We would usually just embed, and more so, wrecks and fires and stuff like that. We'll have a video of it showing it. not so much with any talking or anything. And I don't really know, people like it, I guess, but it'll get 4,000 or 5,000 views. And we will run ads over it.
So you run ads over the actual.
Yeah. And that's because we have the third-party video hoster.
We're starting Project Open, we sell a little newscast, 3-minute newscast to radio stations. Typically, I guess this is what they suggested, that their model is to accept that kind of content and not pay for it, but give the opportunity to sell an ad, sell a minute of ads or something, 30 seconds. I mean, would you? And we can underprice it. There's no requirement on price. Yeah, I mean, are you, what's the strategy? Do you have a strategy idea on that in terms of rates? I'm really dark.
Me too.
Making it up as we go along.
And I've dealt with radio, and I do it all independently. And when I was doing commercial radio, their rates are really high. And I will tell you that I gave up on that, and I said, I'm going to be an independent. I'm just going to get my own sponsors. I have my own sponsor for the commercial radio podcast, and I deal with it completely separately and provide advertising for him completely separately. Because I don't want to deal with commercial radio. It is a crazy landscape.
But did you try to base the rate on their share?
I did not base it on anything other than what he was willing to pay when he first offered it to me. I really don't know. All I know is that the rate they were charging him was a lot more than what I charged. And it's a crazy environment for commercial radio. I try to stay out of it.
I didn't mention earlier that we just started about a year ago, started a weekly program called The Edge, and it's a 2.5-minute video with basically 4 news stories, and we sell a sponsorship on there for $500. So, which is probably underdoing it, but it's really accessible to small startups and nonprofits and stuff.
Each video.
Each video, yeah.
So the question is about internet radio and embedded. Have we thought about doing it and embedding on the website? I have not. Internet radio I think implies live, so it's sort of appointment viewing for radio. I just think podcasting has advantages over that because users are able to listen to it whenever they want, and with audio is part of the attraction of audio is that it's a format where you can consume it in a venue where you're otherwise not consuming media. So, for instance, walking the dog, doing the dishes, driving to work, mowing the lawn. There are areas of people's lives where they're not able to, let's say go on your phone and read an article, but they are able to listen to something. And so that's where podcasting, I think, really fits in. And if you're broadcasting live, you're not giving people the flexibility to do that as much. I haven't otherwise given it thought. Maybe it's interesting, but just from if I had to pick one, I'm picking podcasting.
Somebody who, and his was the music, internet radio, Hound Dog, and he did it. He just considered doing it, and he packed up and moved to the coast, so it was like okay, but it was kind of more evening and just music. It was very relaxed, but it was international because I heard about it from somebody in England sent me the information and said this guy's from your town, don't say anything about it. And I thought something like that because it's just music. It's not it's not a program. Yours are programs. It's something that somebody would need to listen to, and specific, one to listen all the way through.
Right. It's interesting. I think it could potentially be brand building to kind of have your own internet radio station. It's just, do you have the time and capacity to program it to a degree that you can make it something that people are going to listen to? I think we have time for one more question. I get the 5-minute signal a little earlier. Is there any other questions?
What are you using to edit?
So I'm using Adobe Audition to edit. It's part of the Adobe Creative Suite. And when you're editing audio, and this applies to video too, to an extent, I would imagine you can talk more about that. But there are a couple things you want to look for in terms of your post-production editing. You want to the degree possible, edit out any hiccups. If there's 5 seconds of silence, you probably want to get rid of that. But more so, there's some processing like compression. You want to add compression to your audio. Otherwise, audio can be if you're talking to a microphone, depending on your distance to the mic, the audio can be very uneven. The amplitude of your voice varies a lot, like more than you realize, and a microphone accentuates the differences. So what compression does is it levels out the audio, and so it's one moment the user doesn't have to turn up the audio to hear what you're saying, and then the next minute turn it down because it's almost like you're screaming into the mic, even though you're not. So compression is big in terms of processing. And a de-esser filter is the other thing we do to it, which cuts out like the sound that microphones tend to pick up. De-essers tend to, reduce that a little bit. There's other processing you can do. Those are the two basic things we do. Did you want to talk briefly about anything that you do in video?
I think the best idea is to Google it on YouTube and find out the best practices out there because they're changing.
A lot of tutorials on video and podcast, video creation, podcasting. You find that on YouTube and various other channels.